Hello. First, I'd like to thank you for clicking on my video and listening to me share some of my life experience with you. I hope you can gain some knowledge from it and apply it to your life. With that being said, let's get into it. First, I want to preface this by saying I do have an MBA, but in no means do I think you need a degree to grow your salary, and anybody can follow these same processes that I did to help grow your salary. I graduated from a university here in Colorado with an MBA in 2021. I went into a career field that did not need a degree when I graduated. Check out one of my other videos called Don't Be Afraid to Try Different Jobs to learn about what that previous job experience was. That job I actually did for about a year and realized this wasn't the job for me. So then in May of 2022, I got a job at Dish Network as a business operations analyst, and the starting salary was $70K. Position did require a degree and was also less money than I was making at a job that did not require a degree. I was working at Dish for about 2 months when I very quickly realized this was not the company for me. The example I can give you about why it was not for me is if you've ever seen the movie Office Space. That's really how it felt at Dish Network, and I was going crazy. But that's something I will go into more depth about in a future video about kind of corporate culture and a corporate nightmare. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video. So around July of 2022, really just kind of unhappy and looking for jobs. So I applied at a procurement job for the federal government. I had supply chain experience from a job that I worked while in college, and I thoroughly enjoyed supply chain and my supply chain classes, and that was always a field that kind of interested me. When I started applying, I knew that was a field I wanted to get back into, was supply chain, procurement, buying, all that stuff. So in July I applied, and then that same month I had a job interview, and it went very well. But after that interview, I did not hear anything. So come mid-August, I'm really starting to just, go crazy in Dish. So I kind of did what everyone's done, what everyone's heard about, and that's kind of just mass applying to jobs. So that's what I did. I mass applied to all these procurement, supply chain, buyer positions on Indeed. Had quite a few interviews. A lot of the interviews went well, but none of them really worked out. Kind of surprisingly, most companies just post jobs because it's kind of a requirement, but they already usually have someone internally that they're going to hire. Finally, one of the jobs actually did pan out. It was a buyer at a medical device company, so think like implants, so whether it's hip or knee or ankle implants, that's what I mean by a medical device company. They actually offered me a substantial increase in my salary of $19,000 per year, so it would have been $89,000 a year, and I immediately accepted that position and put in my 2 weeks at Dish. So I started this job as a buyer in late September of 2022 and immediately felt this was a way better fit than Dish Network. At this job, I really did enjoy working with my coworkers. They made my commute a lot easier, and I did have a good relationship with my manager and senior manager. For the most part, did have some points of contention with them, and that ended up being why I ultimately left the job. So come late October, or then come late November of 2022, I get an email saying that the hiring manager for that federal procurement job wants to interview me. So I was happy to see it. I immediately scheduled the interview, and there was actually two hiring managers on my interview panel because they had two open positions that they needed to fill. So after I get through the interview process, I ask them about what next steps kind of look like. the hiring manager said they would actually have to discuss it with each other since there was 2 vacancies, and I was really the only person left in the hiring pool to hire. So they would have to work it out on who would actually hire me, but they would get back to me. So that was really good news. Basically, I knew I had the job at that point because there was no one else to hire. That next week, I was on a business trip to Memphis. The hiring manager called me while I was on the flight, so I didn't answer. And when I landed, I called him back. He didn't answer, so we kind of played a game of telephone tag for a little bit. But finally, he called me. I answered, and he offered me the position for $100,000 a year. I really did not have anything to think about considering this job was also fully remote. It had a 410 schedule, so I'd have every Friday off, and I accepted the position, but I couldn't resign just yet from my current job because since this was a federal job, I did have to go through a background check. Once all that went through, I put in my 2 weeks at the medical device company and started my current job that I am actually still working in January of 2023. I do thoroughly love my job. I enjoy being fully remote. I enjoy my 410 schedule. But I think, unfortunately, with the way the economy is and how expensive everything is, just, I think I might have to be looking for another position that pays higher in procurement at a company here in Denver just because of how much better the pay is. Kind of one of those harsh realities we all have to face. Life changes, circumstances change, and sometimes you just have to leave a job that you enjoy. Unless something drastically changes within the economy, it's one of those things I kind of highly doubt. But with all that being said, that's the story of how I went from making 70K to 100K in less than a year. What I would say to you is don't be afraid to leave your company or leave your current job for something new. There's no rules about how long you have to stay at a company. I know you hear people say, oh, you have to stay at least a year, but if a company can fire you without notice, why do you owe a company a year of your time? Especially if there's a better job out there for you. So, you don't have to stay in a position for a certain amount of time. I left 2 jobs after only a few months, and I still got hired at the job I'm at now. So with all that being said, that's all I have for you today. I hope I've inspired one of you to take that leap and not be afraid to move to a different job or, start looking. And I hope you all have a blessed week, and I will talk to you on the next one.